Do you take a divot, and does it really matter? Well, I mean, that is one of the first things I would look at when a player comes for an assessment and we've got the launch monitor data. I would ask them, do they take a divot? Although, to be fair, the answers are always there on the monitor. The strike, for people who don't take a divot, the strike location is always very low on the face, so lots of sort of thin shots. There's normally way too much loft on the club, so not enough shaft lean. And of course, you can hear it, can't you? You can hear it when there's that lack of compression. So in order to hit the ball and not take a divot, basically the bottom of your swing arc is pretty much right under the ball. So the club is arcing out with no shaft lead, and you are just sort of picking it off the top. And that is a really precise movement. I wouldn't want to have to play like that. I wouldn't want to hit off a tight lie or over water knowing I've got to just pick it. Whereas the ideal movement would be to have the bottom of your arc some sort of 4 inches past the ball, and that is created with the changing of pressure in our feet, and also being able to deliver the club so that it's leaning forwards. And when a club is leaning forwards, it's still moving down. Then we get that fantastic situation where we get the ball first, and of course with the shaft lean we get compression and lower flight, further distance, etc. So if you are playing golf off, with the ball sitting on top of semi-rough the whole time, you can get away without taking divots for sure, but you are going to get some high ball flights. All other shots, so tight lies, ball sitting down, etc., are going to require a more downwards hit and with some shaft lean. This is definitely worth putting in the time, understanding some of the key components and building them into your swing, so you get that incredible feeling of ball first and then divot. Often when players aren't taking divots, it's because there is too much width in the downswing. So in that situation, the wrists have kind of unwound too early, the right arm gets a little bit too long, and now this sort of arm and club length is too long to hit the ball. So that player would then sort of drive that into the ground. But they wouldn't do that for very long. They would soon learn not to hit the ground, and out of their conscious awareness, they would learn to stand up through the ball, and in doing so, just manage to kind of pick the ball off nicely. But as we know, it's going to be off the bottom edge, and there'll be a lack of compression. So telling that golfer just to stay down through the ball isn't going to do it. They would just slam the club into the ground. We need to address that situation with the wrists unwinding too early. So lots of L2L drills, really trying to feel the pressure in the wrists for much longer. Players who raise up, I mean, oftentimes they're raising up for a reason, but if you're getting higher, then of course you can't maintain wrist and elbow angle. You have to throw the club down just to find strike. So that's a thing as well, being able to maintain posture and stay down over it. Players who don't take divots are often players who have worked a lot on trying to keep the club swinging from the inside. So maybe the player has a sort of previous history of swinging across, over and across, but then they've spent the last 10 years just trying to keep the club on the inside, and we end up with this situation where it's too much into out and it's underplaying and it's all very scoopy. So that would kind of look like this. And that looks quite good. I mean, it's gone straight. It's a horrible strike. It was completely picked up, and it was a big kind of into out loopy path. So those players need to stop trying to swing from into out and actually get the club to feel like, or the hands to feel like they're swinging over and down and actually putting some sort of downwards compression on the ball. As they say, you can overeat lettuce, and swinging from the inside was probably a good idea at one point. But if that's all you work on for 10 years, you are going to be too much on the inside, too shallow, and the bottom of your arc is not going to be in the right place. Most of the time when players don't take divots, it's because there's some other component to the story. Occasionally though, players don't take divots just because they don't like to hit the ground. So, and this does happen occasionally. Players would have an alignment through the ball, as kind of shown by the launch monitor, where the club's leaning forwards and it's moving down, but it doesn't. The bottom of the arc just doesn't continue to move down low enough, and that's quite an easy fix. They've got all the kind of dynamics. They need to take a divot, but that player needs to do the line drill. So draw the line and just get really comfortable with keeping the club moving down and through and getting that fantastic feeling of ball first and then divot. And of course, as we know, when we get it right, it's actually a really rewarding feeling as the club is has this sort of resistance through the turf. It's a great sense of feedback. So sometimes it is as honest and as innocuous as just not letting the club continue down further. Drills to take divots then. So, you know, first of all, we need to address other areas that might be influencing your ability to put the bottom of the arc in the right place. But beyond that, it is well worth doing a few drills and trying to create the right kind of dynamics through the ball. And that's where this popular drill comes in. We know that through the ball we want to be holding shaft lean and rotating the body, and in that way putting the bottom of the arc past the ball. So this is a popular one you'll see people do. I think there's even a specific device you can buy that sticks in the end of the club. But I've just got an alignment stick and I've wrapped it under my fingers to create a longer club, a club extension. And the way the drill works is very simple. If you are, I mean, I would only do this in practice, to be honest. Have a few kind of half swings, and the aim is to turn through the ball and let the stick kind of work around behind you. And if you do have shaft lean at impact and the body's turning, nobody's going to get hurt. Not a problem. If, however, through the ball you stop your body turning and you throw the wrists, then that is going to stick in your ribs, and it's going to be annoying, and it kind of gets pulled through your fingers as well. And frankly, it's your own fault, and you will soon learn that feeling of kind of turning through and keeping the club to your side. It's quite an exaggerated drill, though. I mean, in reality, we don't keep shaft lean for that long. The club does past us. So know that the drill is an exaggeration, which is why I wouldn't then hit with it. So having done a few kind of exercises with the cane, I would then move into chip, pitch, punch. So I'd start with a few chips. I've got a pitching wedge. So in a chip, we start leaning a bit left, don't we, with some shaft lean. And I'm just trying to hit it and maintain that shaft lean. And that gives us that kind of fantastic movement through the ball. So I'll do a few of those, and I might build those up to, I don't know, 60 yards. Didn't get much divot there, but I don't think that was a shaft lean issue. I just need to stay down and put the club more into the ground. So I'm really working on moving my pivot and holding shaft lean. That would then work into a pitch. So a longer version of that, basically, a little bit of weight left, more of an L shape in the backswing, but still delivering that sense of shaft lean through the ball. And that felt really nice. I've got a bit more speed now, so I've got more of a divot. And then moving on from that, you might then hit some punch shots, which is essentially the same movement. I mean, if I had to hit a 7-iron under the wind, say I was going into the wind with a 7-iron, I'm making very much that same motion. I'm setting up like it's a pitch shot, leaning a little bit left, club leaning forwards, getting the weight onto that front foot early, and really trying to deliver shaft lean. And of course, no doubt there we got that kind of downwards club delivery with the club leaning forwards. As you go through the progression, if you find that you struggle at any stage, then just take a time out and go back a stage or two and kind of build it back up from there. And what you'll find is, as you start to kind of do more and more of this, you'll be more familiar with that movement through the ball, and hopefully it will build into your normal full swing.